welcome everyone. We are so pleased to have you joining us for today's second webinar in our series, the UNH Sustainability Alumni Webinar Series. We're really pleased to be partnering with UNH's Alumni Relations team on this new webinar series in celebration of UNH's the 25th anniversary of the UNH Sustainability Institute being founded back in 1997. Andy, if you could start the screen share, that would be fantastic. Thanks so much. Just a heads up, we have a couple of wonderful webinars coming up in the new year as well. January 11th on sustainable and renewable energy, February the 15th on sustainable investing, March 21 on sustainable food and food systems, and then a wrap-up one on Earth Day. Really looking forward to UNH's next 25 years of sustainability. So I hope you'll register those. The registrations are now live on our website. You can register at any time to join us for those webinars. Next slide, please, Andy. So UNH, I think, is a really fitting organization to be hosting this webinar series by alumni for alumni, but we also welcome faculty and staff and students and the general public as well. We're really proud to be a national leader in sustainability in higher education. We use something called STARS, the Sustainability Tracking Assessment and Rating System, as a way to really measure how we're doing from a sustainability standpoint. It really looks at all aspects of how we operate our physical campus, but it also looks at things like our curriculum, our research, and how we engage with the broader community. So we're really proud to be one of only 11 that has that highest rating within STARS, Platinum. You can see some of the other universities there that we are in good company. And within that group of 11, we currently have the 5th highest score in the country. So something really for Wildcats to be really proud of. In terms of the topic for today's webinar, we're really talking about sustainable goods. And because it's the holidays, also sustainable gift giving. This is a big topic. Next slide, please, Andy. Annually, UNH spends over $250 million on goods and services, and so that's really a lot of purchasing power. And here at UNH, we're really striving to ensure that we're doing our part to help build a more sustainable economy and a more equitable world through the way that we purchase and what we purchase. I don't want to take too much time from our fantastic alumni speakers, but just a couple of quick things to share with you all. We do have a sustainability statement that we share with all of our potential vendors. You can see that on our website. As part of licensing the UNH brand through UNH Innovation, we ensure that all the goods produced bearing the UNH trademark are done so via producers who have active memberships with both the Fair Labor Association and the Workers' Rights Consortium. And so our supply chain partnerships really ensure that all of our vendors allow their factory employees to collectively bargain for fair wages, working conditions, and human rights. In terms of sustainable food sourcing, we are currently a fair trade campus. We have been since 2019. That was really an effort that was a partnership between our office at the Sustainability Institute and a group of amazing students from our Net Impact chapter. They really made that possible. And there's many other ways that we think about sustainability in our purchasing. I will also say there's a lot we still have to do. So we've made some good strides. As a university, we are scoring above average against other universities in the country around this, but we still have a gap and there's more that we could do, and we'll be looking to address that in the coming years. Next slide, please, Andy. So today, really, the focus is on hearing from the experts. We are incredibly lucky to have such a fantastic group of alumni, graduates of UNH, who are now working out in the industry and leading sustainability efforts. So I will introduce them in alphabetical order. So first up, Betsy Blaisdell. She's class of 1999. She's currently Director of Supply Chain Decarbonization at Guidehouse. She'll tell you more about what that is, but has incredible experience particularly in the sustainable apparel world. So Betsy, it's so nice to have you back with us, and thanks for joining us. We also have Corley Kenna, class of 2000, and Corley likewise has deep expertise in this field. She's currently head of communications and policy at Patagonia. We also have Jason McBriarty, class of 1992. Jason is currently Director of Communications and Operations Controller at the Levi Strauss Foundation. So we have a wonderful group over on the West Coast today joining us. And last but no means least, Matt O'Connor, class of 92 also. Matt was a longtime team member at Patagonia, but recently moved over to be Senior Director of National Sales at a great company called Cotopaxi, which I've been learning about over the last few months and really love what they do. So happy to have you all with us. Really excited for this conversation. Thanks so much for stopping the screen share, Andy. So let's get started. I'm going to ask each of our panelists to just share a little bit about who they are, share your UNH connection, and also your current role in organization, and so the areas of expertise you have in this field. And we also deliberately all wore something that we love, and we'll each share a little bit about what we're wearing and why in those introductions. So Betsy, let's start with you.
Great to be with you all. My name is Betsy Blaisdell. And I graduated from UNH in '99. I think I still have the award for most credits gotten achieved outside of UNH because I love my experience so much. I stayed there so long and did a lot of study abroad. So very happy for my customized experience at UNH. I studied environmental science, and I actually still live in the Portsmouth area, so not too far away from UNH. My current role is I work with consumer goods industry. So all your gift purchases this season, I work with consumer goods industries on decarbonizing their products and supply chain. And essentially what that means is I spend a lot of time in factories retrofitting them with energy efficiency and renewable energies so that we can collectively achieve very aggressive climate goals. So good to be with you all today. Oh, and the thing I'm wearing right now is actually my husband's jacket. I feel miniature, and it's a Nerona coat. Over the Thanksgiving holiday, I had the head of sustainability from Nerona stay at our house and was learning more about how come their gear is so amazing. They have a 3-year product development timeline. So for every new product they put on the market, they spend 3 years testing it for durability and repair. And they use that feedback during that 3-year period to constantly improve their products. And it's a pretty rare thing to see in the apparel industry, so much time and dedication to building durable product. But I think we'll have a nice theme throughout this conversation today, talking about how important durability is. So yeah, love their gear and love that they take so long to produce awesome products.
And Betsy, for people who may not be familiar with it, can you just spell the name of the company?
Yeah, actually I have to look. Norrona. It's a Norwegian company. They're based in Oslo. And if you're a skier, I have to say, and I love my Patagonia ski gear, but it's really well thought out ski gear.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Betsy. So Corley, let's go to you.
Thank you. It's so great to be with y'all. My name is Corley Kenna. I lead the communications and public policy team at Patagonia. I'm originally from Atlanta, Georgia, and so going to University of New Hampshire was quite a change, but I loved every second of it, truly. I was class of 2001, but actually graduated a semester early. So hence the 2000 designation. And let's see, I'll start with the product that I'm wearing, which is a classic Patagonia snap tee. I think I've had a version of this since I was in middle school. And this one I've had for, I don't know, at least 10 years. It's sort of the ultimate in comfort clothes. But I also have, I'm not wearing them, but I will hold them up, some pants that I got from one of my best friends at UNH. She gave them to me when she graduated. And they are the ultimate in loungewear still. So more than 20 years old, and got me through the pandemic. And I think it just kind of goes to show sometimes the best gifts are the ones that mean the most to somebody who decides that you should have them. So that's why I have those. My day job is really interesting and changes day by day. But mostly my team and I are responsible for how we communicate about the products that we make, how we make them, why we make them, what they're good for, and also how to like stressing sort of which of our environmental priorities we're looking for our communities to come along with us and engage on those issues with us. And on the policy side, really, it's at that intersection of communications and issues and how we can use business to advance we think policies that will help make sure that we're living on a planet that's worth living on 20 years from now. So thanks for the invitation to be here. Looking forward to the conversation.
Awesome. Thanks, Corley. I love the story about the pants you have from a gift from a classmate at UNH. That's a great way to bring this together. Jason, over to you.
Sure. Jason McBriarty, class of 1992. And gosh, I can't believe it's been 30 years since I walked those beautiful paths in October between the MUB and Thompson Hall. And I used to live in Sawyer Hall. I was the president of Sawyer Hall, so there. But UNH today is really firmly still in my heart. Back 30 years ago, in 1992, when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my career, with my next step in life, as I was getting ready to leave UNH, I had taken a women's studies course, and Jane Stapleton, who was then an adjunct professor in the women's studies program. Keep in mind, I took a women's studies course 30 years ago, and I was the only man in the course, the male in the course. She's now the executive director of Prevention Innovations Research Center. She sat me down in her office and said, "What do you want to do next?" And choices were to sell insurance, and that was the only one that I knew. Nothing wrong with selling insurance. My father and my sister have had a great career in insurance, but she really encouraged me to follow my heart. And had I not done that, I would not be sitting here in San Francisco at the Levi's global headquarters. So there's sort of a corny message in there for some of the students on the call. It's to really, reach out to people around you, and don't be afraid to follow your heart. So here I am. I'm the director of Operations Communications at the Levi Strauss Foundation. I'll talk a little bit more about that as we get into the panel, but I've had many jobs across the company in the 18 years that I've been at Levi Strauss. Never thought I would be here this long. I worked in the nonprofit sector after coming out of UNH and then getting a master's degree at Boston University. I wanted to work for a corporation so I could figure out how to throw rocks at it. But I have found a home here because I realized that companies like Cotopaxi and Patagonia and Levi's, we have a role to play. I mean, we need people in the streets, and the foundation funds social activists in the streets, but we also need people in these positions to try to create change. So I'm really happy to be here on this panel. And so because we're all talking about a favorite good, this is a trucker jacket, a jean trucker jacket, and I'm wearing a pair of Levi's 501s that I both owned for almost 18 years, and sort of, at the foundation of sustainability, and we'll talk more about this, is certainly durability. Both of these things have been mended many times. There's a tailor shop just through the wall here where I'm speaking to you all, but I love them both because they have memories. I've been, many concerts in New Hampshire, California. I've traveled to Indonesia and Mexico and Amsterdam, and both of these items have come with me. So there's a lot of stains and rips and memories that are built into these two products. So, and in fact, my daughter, who's Denali, who attended UNH, she's been asking me for this jacket. So at some point I will give it to her, and it'll probably live on for another 20 or 30 years.
Love it, Jason. Thanks so much. And last but not least, Matt O'Connor, over to you.
Oh, thank you so much. Great to be here with you all. Thanks for the opportunity. My name is Matt O'Connor. I am the Senior Director for National Sales at Cotopaxi, which is a relatively young brand. I know there's some big anniversaries coming up for some of the other brands here on the call. But I have a really exciting role because as the head of sales, I get to sit in that nexus between mission, product, and then engaging with the consumer. So through our sales team and our wholesale network of retailers, we really get to have millions of touch points literally with the consumers that intersect with our goods. And we get to tell the fantastic stories that sit behind all of these brands and what we're trying to accomplish and how we're trying to have a deeper connection via product with our consumer and really start some interesting conversations. So that's very exciting. And to Corley's point, it feels like it does change every day, especially over the last couple of years. As for what I'm wearing, this is probably one of my all-time favorite pieces. It was my graduation present from high school in 1988. I grew up in New Hampshire, so I graduated from high school in Manchester, New Hampshire, and then so this thing has certainly been all around UNH, from class time to being an RA in the mini dorms to bouldering on the PCAC wall, if you all can picture that. So a lot of fun afternoons while on campus. So just really excited to dig into it and have a great conversation today. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Matt. And I failed to talk about what I'm wearing. So I'm lucky enough to live in Freeport, Maine, where we have a Patagonia outlet. So probably 2/3 of my wardrobe, my husband, my daughter's wardrobe is from Patagonia. So it was a hard choice which one to pick, but I'm wearing, it's a Patagonia, it's part of their recycled cashmere product line. And it's quite old. I can't remember how many. Betsy, Corley, you'll probably be able to tell me when you started doing recycled cashmere. But it's a beloved item, particularly at this time of year. And I love the fact that Patagonia chose to really highlight recycled cashmere. It was really in observation of the fact that as cashmere became much more popular, mainstream, there was really overproduction of the cashmere goat population, and so and all of its environmental impacts. And so Patagonia is sourcing used cashmere to make into their recycled cashmere line, which it's a wonderful item that I love very much. All right, well let's switch to talking a little bit about the organizations for whom you work. This is certainly not an advertisement for these companies, but they are companies that we admire very much at UNH because of your sustainability commitments and values. Betsy, I'm going to start with you because you don't work for a company. I mean, you do work for a company, but it's not a product company. So I was going to start with you just to have you talk a little bit and set the stage for us a little bit about sort of what people should be thinking about when we think about sustainability, particularly in apparel and other consumer goods.
Sure. So the company I work for is Guidehouse. It's a consultancy of about 15,000 consultants. We focus deeply in energy, climate, and sustainability. And I joined Guidehouse after I left working at Patagonia to develop a practice very much focused around how do you work with the factories that produce all these products we purchase to achieve climate goals. So reduce their emissions, cut them at least in half. So spending a lot of time figuring out how to do that in all sorts of interesting geographies. Right now, a big focus in India and Bangladesh. And so working in these geographies and seeing how all these products are produced, I'm just a big advocate for pushing everybody to source products from companies that have made aggressive climate commitments and are showing in a very accountable way how they're achieving those targets. So there are a lot of apparel companies out there right now that have signed up for something called a science-based target, which is a commitment by 2030 to cut their emissions and their supply chain emissions in half. And I think that's a great way to kind of filter for companies to support. We're all experiencing the impacts of climate right now. I'm pretty depressed about what ski season looks like in New England these days. I'm sure many others are too, as it's 50 degrees and raining out today. But I just encourage that as kind of being a first stop for companies to support. And then we'll get into more suggestions later, but really focused around product durability and longevity. I think, those are two things to emphasize if you are buying something new. And then we'll chat a little bit more about how do you keep getting joy out of cool pants like Corley got, or the jacket that Matt's wearing, and spreading and sharing that love with friends and family too, and really thinking about how we can repurpose and regift things, not in the traditional bad sense of passing on bad gifts, but sharing pre-loved items. Those things are sort of top of mind when I think about what are the key drivers for all consumer goods companies to move in a more sustainable direction, and us supporting them as consumers.
Thanks, Betsy. Corley, you talked a little bit about Patagonia in your introduction, but maybe just share a couple of other highlights with folks about, why you're so proud to work for a company like Patagonia from a sustainability standpoint.
Yeah, thank you. So I think Patagonia is pretty unusual in a lot of ways, both in how our business started and where we are right now, which is our company was started by our founder, Yvon Chouinard, who was a climber. And he first taught himself how to make climbing equipment, realized that that climbing equipment was really damaging to the places where he loved to climb. So he needed to change how he built that climbing equipment. And that was the first sort of thought he had about being in business, was whatever I'm making is taking from the planet, it's having an effect on the planet. And so I'm going to do it differently in a way that is the most responsible way I know how, and that will do the least amount of harm. Turns out making climbing equipment isn't actually a great way to he wasn't looking to get rich ever, but he couldn't even really live to afford to live, was legit eating cat food out of the back of his car for many years. So got into making apparel, and again, not looking to make apparel to get wealthy, but because it sort of offered a place to create business, and you also need clothes to climb. And so he, to what Betsy was saying on durability, he was really interested in what kind of products we could make that would hold up in the most extreme of situations. And so the really sturdy rugby-like shirts were one of our first products. And then also really early on in the company history, thinking about what materials were out there that could be done differently. And a lot of people don't know this, but our first fleece jacket was inspired from a toilet seat cover. And so just thinking about other uses for materials, what could be out there, what could be made high quality, because literally people's lives were depending on it, really durable because it was going to be put through the most extreme of situations. And then to your example on cashmere, what are things that we can be doing differently? And of course, that was many years later, but people love cashmere. It's a wonderful way to stay warm. There's lots of problems with how we source cashmere. So why not use recycled cashmere and turn it into something new? And I'll just touch on sort of how this all has transformed over our nearly 50 years of doing business. We've been trying our best all this time to build product with purpose, to do it differently, causing the least amount of harm, hopefully using it as a way to also inspire other businesses to build products differently. And throughout this, we've also felt we should be paying an earth tax. We should be investing in the places that we love. And we could make a difference by supporting mostly really local nonprofits who know the most about the most pressing challenges in their community. If we can support them, even better. So that's what gave way to our 1% for the Planet program, which we are still a part of. It's also what gave way to an announcement we made on September 14th, which is that the entirety of our business model now is connected to our purpose. So we have every dollar that's not reinvested back into the company is given away to a new nonprofit that we've established, which will make grants to other nonprofits. It will make investments in land and water that's threatened. And because it's a 501c4 designation, we can also support various policy efforts to scale what we see to be really good policies that will protect our planet. So really every which way our business is trying to invest in our planet and to give back to our planet.
Fantastic. Thank you, Corley, for sharing that. I'm going to go to Matt next, because you worked at Patagonia for a long time. You now are at a great company called Cotopaxi. Can you just share a couple of highlights with us about why you chose to work for Cotopaxi and some of their highlights from a sustainability standpoint?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And yeah, certainly, my career at Patagonia was a highlight of my life for sure. I crossed over with Corley for a few years there, and Came into the company as a sales rep and then moved up into sales management. And I love that the responsibility that we had was to really talk about how product can make a difference. You know, we all consume goods. We will continue to consume goods. And what are the brands that are out there that are telling a different story and really engaging with the consumer and talking about the responsibility of those purchases? How do those dollars have a positive impact? Because we all need clothes to wear. We all need some mode of transportation. We all need food. We need all these varieties of things. So the goal was always to engage a process of thought around consumption or purchase. So the interesting thing to me about Cotopaxi relative to the industry that we're in, or that, you know, the outdoor industry per se, was at the baseline foundation of all of these companies, sustainability is very, very strong, right? As we look at the outdoor industry, especially its growth over the last couple of years, we're realizing that it has more and more impact on the places that we love and the resources that we enjoy engaging with. So sustainability is very much at the foundation of Cotopaxi, but our mission is a little bit different in the sense that we're people focused. Our connection to the outdoor industry is that we make products that are really built around adventure and travel. And we believe that through travel and through engaging different communities, different cultures, we build a stronger sense of empathy and compassion for the people that we share the planet with. And while there has been massive improvements in what the UN defines as extreme poverty, we've brought the percentage of the planet that's living in extreme poverty down significantly over the last 10 years. There's still quite a bit of it out there. So our primary mission is using travel and using products to tell the story of extreme poverty. And then through our business model, a for-profit business model, we have created the Cotopaxi Foundation. And that goal is to reach out to communities and support them through medicine, education, material goods to help improve their livelihood. So a little bit different spin, but all very interconnected. So for me, that was a really unique shift and opportunity to tell a slightly different story through the products that we make.
That's awesome. Thanks so much, Matt. Jason, let's finish up this piece with you and hear a little bit more about Levi's very long history in this space.
Sure, I'll give a quick sort of overview. I mean, Levi Strauss the Levi Strauss and Co. was founded actually almost 170 years ago by a Jewish immigrant, Levi Strauss. He escaped Bavaria, Germany. He was facing religious prosecution. He moved to New York, and then something was happening in the hills of California that brought him west, and he came out to San Francisco to start a dry goods business. And he maintained that dry goods business for about 20 years. And then something happened. Miners that were prospecting for gold in the hills of California kept coming to him and saying they're having problems with their pants. They were ripping. So Levi Strauss worked with a tailor named Jacob Davis out of Nevada and developed a pair of pants that put rivets right here. I actually have a pair of 501s here. It's next year is the 150th anniversary of the 501. It's the jean that invented all jeans. And so Jacob Davis and Levi Strauss sewed rivets at all the stress points of a pair of pants. And what that did is it helped to create a more durable product. And so in many ways, Levi's was founded on this idea of durability. And for folks that know, on the back patch of a pair of Levi's has two horses trying to pull apart a pair of jeans. This was in the late 1800s. So it's probably one of the first sort of cause-related marketing, if you will, messages that were ever used. So, fast forward to today, Levi Strauss's sustainability is really based on three pillars. It's a community pillar, which I sit in, the Levi Strauss Foundation, climate, which is our efforts to mitigate and adapt to climate change using science-based targets, and then consumption. And so I'll talk a little bit about the community, which is where I sit, because we have I have a similar sort of role that Matt, has at Cotopaxi, or at least the mission. Levi Strauss Foundation, we're really about the community and focusing on sort of the energy and events of our time, the social issues of our time. And our areas of funding are democracy, immigrant rights, reproductive justice, which is new for us. We've been doing it quietly in supply chain communities for many years. A lot of locations where Levi's products are made, or where apparel is made in general, there's a real dearth of health services available to apparel workers. Upwards of 75% of all apparel globally, not just Levi's, are made by women. And so we have been funding Planned Parenthood International, not just to provide reproductive services, but to provide actually general health services in supply chain communities for many years. Just recently this year, the beginning of this year, with some court actions that decisions that were made, we decided to bring that work here in the United States, back to the United States. So reproductive justice will be a big focus of our work going forward. We invested $2.1 million in 2022 to ensure that women, particularly marginalized women and low-income women, have access to reproductive care and health services. And then the final area of support is worker rights and well-being. So ensuring that the workers, again, primarily women, that make our products, that their health rights are protected and their lives are improved by working on a Levi's product.
That's awesome.
One last thing too, because as we get into the conversation, while I work in the foundation now, I've had many roles throughout the company. So, I help to develop the company's sustainability vision. So I'm well aware of our environmental sustainability initiatives as well.
Yeah, some great work there as well. I think one quick thing, we are going to have time for some Q&A from the audience. So if you are watching today and you have a question for the panelists, please, you can start putting those questions in the Q&A function in Zoom, and we'll get to those in a few minutes. I want to talk about a couple of questions. I think panelists, I'm going to flip the question just in the interest of time. So, how everything you're talking about is, really interesting and important. You're deeply immersed in this world professionally. And I think for many consumers, this is a very confusing landscape, right? Often with a lot of technical information about a company's sustainability practices. There's also a big increase in greenwashing, which is the term for companies who are making false or misleading statements about their sustainability practices in order to appeal to customers. And so I guess one of the questions I wanted to ask you all is, how can consumers better navigate making a purchase? What sorts of information can consumers use to sort of help deconfuse this cluttered landscape? Maybe Corley, maybe start with you.
Sure thing. I think everyone should be asking a lot more questions about where their products come from. Who were the workers behind those products, and how was the planet affected by how those products were built? We think at Patagonia, and I know this is shared at Levi's and Cotopaxi as well, that it's really important for brands to take on this responsibility and share that story as honestly and transparently as possible. And so we're pretty clear on how we build products and what we're still struggling with. I'll give an example of like microplastics, which is absolutely something we're concerned about. And we have a whole team of literal scientists who work on solutions for how to address that. So we're really clear with our customers, this is a problem. We don't have a perfect answer for it yet. We want you to know about it. And then we talk about places where we struggled with this. We found a solution. We want you to know about it. We want you to encourage other brands to consider using this. An example there would be our commitment to using organic cotton over conventional cotton, which is something we decided to do over 20 years ago. And now we're in a place where we're trying to not only just use organic cotton, but regenerative organic cotton, which is an even higher bar for how we grow and source our cotton. And so at the end of the day, I think it is about asking questions to the brands that you're supporting, but also there's some red flags, and Betsy can definitely share about this, but if you're buying a $3 t-shirt, you can pretty much assume that the workers were not paid fairly. They probably were not treated fairly. The pollution from the various factories that made that t-shirt are probably really harming communities. And so it should not feel good to buy a $3 t-shirt. So there are red flags. And again, I think Betsy would probably be better suited to share what some of those might be. But it's really about asking questions and demanding more from the companies we buy from.
Great, thanks, Corley. Why don't we go to Betsy, seeing as you gave that nice intro for Betsy?
Thank you. Yeah, I definitely echo that. That's usually my go-to advice. If it's cheap, it's not sustainable. And it probably relates to the simplified message I have for all shopping, which is quality, not quantity. And I think we've all experienced those Christmas where kids are just like opening the gifts and not even paying attention to what they're getting. They're just trying to get through the pile. So I would say certainly quality over quantity. Can you do one big gift? Like a really big, awesome gift versus a bunch of smaller gifts.
Yeah. Jason, what's your perspective on this? Helping people navigate this space.
No, it's interesting. So I have actually a live example. So I was down in down the coast in California this past weekend with my partner Jamie's family, and I took them all shopping to Levi's, and her sisters, who actually live in Boston, remarked to me, gosh, Levi's products are kind of expensive. And they got a 60% discount through me. And I said, they are a little bit more higher priced, not as high priced as some other denim brands, but we are higher priced. And that's because it's not made on the backs of workers and women, and that we're good stewards of the environment. I mean, I agree with what's been said already. Do your homework, do your research. You know, I cringe. I cringe when I hear and I see advertisements for the $5 sweater or the $10 pair of jeans from a fast fashion company. One, again, as we've said before, there's a cost to that. That's way down the line that you are not as a consumer bearing, but it's not going to last either. There's no way a $3 t-shirt is going to be anything but a rag at some point in the next year or two. I'm really excited about a campaign that we launched last year, but this was the second year we really hit it home with consumers, is buy better, wear longer. And again, it's make better choices, fewer choices, and they'll last a lot longer.
That's great. Matt, maybe if you wouldn't mind, maybe just talking a little bit about both Cotopaxi and Patagonia are certified B corporations or B Corps. And I think that is one sort of shorthand way of knowing a little bit more that the companies you're buying for are kind of quote unquote good companies. Can you just talk a little bit about B Corps and what that means?
Yeah, and I'll start a little broader, because I think one of the important things for maybe to put out there is, one, doing this sort of investigation and asking those questions. It takes time, and it takes energy, and it takes a commitment. And I think it takes all of those things at the company level too. And I would say that companies that are really serious about this, they democratize their corporate, social, and environmental responsibilities and their claims, right? And every company, just like every individual, and there's been a lot of talk about this in many fields over the last couple of years, they all have internal biases, right? Like they all see the world a certain way, and what they're producing and how they're manufacturing and how they're selling in certain lights. But really good companies also understand that the best way to have checks and balances against those biases is to invite third-party partners into developing and looking internally and having the discipline to change, and then pushing that message outward. So yeah, Fiona, you hit the nail on the head in Cotopaxi's case, specifically being a partner of 1% for the Planet, which obviously came out of Yvonne Chenard's work with Craig Matthews, an amazing scenario there. B Corp membership as well. So these standards that they hold us as companies and manufacturers to makes it much easier for the consumer to go to a company website and see, hey, they are members of some of these key third-party partners that are going to continue to challenge them and continue to make sure that they're living up to their claims. I would say out of respect for limited time and how busy people are, I would look for those third-party partnerships within any brand that you're looking to engage with. So, you know, being part of, for example, you know, any sort of like being a signatory on the climate neutral pledge, for example, is a great one. B Corp 1% for the planet. But they're doing the work, they're holding companies accountable. So I think when you engage with that brand and make a purchase, you can feel really good about it.
That's awesome. Thanks so much, Matt. Well, we had planned some other great questions to talk about, but I can see we've got some great questions coming in from the audience. So why don't we jump and get to some of those? I'm going to start with a question here from Jessica Sheck. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. She's asking, what about product end of life? Of the companies represented, I know Patagonia and Levi have quote unquote take back programs. But they're often hard to access in certain places, even if the consumer is willing to do the extra steps. So I'd love just to hear anyone who wants to talk about sort of product end of life and some of the trends that we're seeing there with producer responsibility and circular economy.
I'll just start quickly here and say this is a big part of the value proposition, and buying from a brand like Patagonia and Levi's definitely has really similar attributes and business initiatives around this kind of thing. But for us, it starts with, we will repair anything if it's broken, and we want you to repair it before you try to replace it. And if you don't live near a Patagonia store, you can send it in to our facility in Reno, which is the largest apparel repair center in the country, and we will fix it. We don't cover shipping, but we cover just about everything else. And if we can't fix it, then we will replace it for you and send it back. Similarly, and this is a newer program for us, we now buy back, and same thing, if you don't live near a store, we don't unfortunately have a store in New Hampshire, you can send it back and we will give you credit on wernwear.com, which is where we offer used Patagonia products. And I saw here in one of the other questions about the price point, I think buying used is a great option for a lower priced product that is still going to be very high quality. It is just as new. It comes with stories and offers a lot of value there. But last thing I'll say here is, I mean, this would be another place where we are not fully satisfied with the options. And we hope to get to a place where you can take this jacket and you can bury it in the ground and it will biodegrade and give back to the soil. And that would be, that's sort of what our North Star is right now with this. But we're definitely not there yet. And so, yeah, thinking about things that can't be repaired and those garments that truly are now used and need to be retired, working on those solutions. And this is where we're relying on some really interesting startups who are developing some innovative technologies in this space, but where there's lots of room for innovation. And so people who are looking for careers in sustainability, this is a really interesting place to get involved.
For sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. Anybody else want to quickly add to that? Or
I'll just mention too, we're not,
we
took back 28,000 pairs of jeans last year, which sounds like a lot, but it's actually not. And I think we're not satisfied with that. And I think we've introduced tailor shops in all of our main markets, mainline stores, and we feel like that's a great way to, similar to Patagonia, you can walk into a Levi's tailor shop, have a repair done, have something really interesting done to your products. I'm moderating a panel in about a couple hours with an organization that we fund in Guatemala that helps bring Levi's and Guatemalan fabrics together through our tailor shops. But lots more to do. I mean, the building that I'm sitting in right now, there's 200,000 pairs of Levi's denim put into denim insulation in the building. Those are ways in which we can do it, but there's a long way to go for this to reach that circular economy sort of end goal.
Yeah.
So from a reverse supply chain standpoint, there's not even like a 0.0001% movement in those materials going into new products now. So I think what we all can do right now is really focus on durable goods. Like that is the one thing that you can do. Durable goods that maintain their value. So like I remember buying a pair of used Levi's at Urban Outfitters when I was a teenager for way more than what the cost of a new pair of Levi's 501s cost, because they're worn and they're better. Same for Timberland boots. I worked at Timberland for 11 years. The worn in boots were way better. And so just focus on durability and things that maintain their value. So you can kick butt on Poshmark or any of the other resale venues that you guys utilize right now.
Yeah.
Just on Poshmark, did anybody, folks in the audience, I heard last Sunday was Secondhand Sunday. You know, we have Black Friday, we have Cyber Monday, Giving Back Tuesday, and now I hope it becomes something like Secondhand Sunday. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so in that vein, there's a great question here that says, I'm a parent of 2 young kids. What recommendations do you have when purchasing clothes for them? They outgrow so quickly. Betsy, I know you were talking about this actually when we were chatting last week, so maybe you want to jump in on that.
I'm thick in it. I have little kids that are in forest school and they tear through goods. And so I definitely recommend, durability here too, but like there are just so many great secondhand options right now. And young kids love it, especially from their cousins. So to the extent that you can like mine your community for awesome hand-me-downs and look for those durable, like unicorn hand-me-downs, like old Patagonia gear for your kids and secondhand shop, that's definitely my recommendation. They love previously loved goods, so.
Love it. There's a great question here from my colleague, Dr. Cameron Wake, thanking you all for your perspectives, but says one guiding principle for gift giving in our family is that it's much better to give something that is consumable as opposed to a durable good. Any reflections on that approach?
I love that, Cam. Hi, Cam. Cam was a professor when I was at UNH.
You'll make him feel old if you say that, Betsy.
And a friend. I'd say I went for that as well. Like that's one thing we push in our family. We don't do birthday gifts, we give experiences. But I'm kind of challenging myself on that now, having just seen like a little trip to New York, how emissions intensive that was. Both my husband and I do life cycle analysis, so we literally count carbon dioxide equivalents in our heads when we do these activities. So I'd say like, yeah, but also asking questions and thinking about the ramifications of that too. New York was really bad from an emissions standpoint for us. So not all experiences and not all consumables add up to a greener Christmas or a greener holiday.
Yeah, and one thought I would throw out there, we were doing this internally as a company at Cotopaxi HQ, but I really enjoy the philosophy of hyper locality, right? So instead of products, to the question is looking at services versus goods, right? And the beauty of hyper locality, especially with services, is almost 100% of the monetary transaction remains in the community, right? So thinking about things around health and wellness, gifting gym memberships, gifting, massages, things along those lines. And then also probably the most valuable can be time commitment, understanding something, if you're thinking about, a gift for, a loved one or a friend, what is something that they're super passionate about, and can you give them time along that? So is there a nonprofit, an NGO that's something that they hold in high value that you could go volunteer at? I would think that would be an amazing commitment to our friendship or our relationship if someone gave 4 hours of their weekend and went and supported something that was very meaningful to me. And I think the beauty of that type of gift is I think you're going to get as much out of it as you can. But I like to frame that process around hyper locality in those moments, because I think it's very rewarding, and it's very important for where you live and the people really neighboring you. So maybe something to noodle on there.
Yeah, it's a beautiful way to frame that, Matt. Thank you. So I'm going to ask, we've got so many great questions, but so little time, sadly, but I'm going to ask our panelists sort of one closing question, which was posed by Andy DeMeo, one of our wonderful sustainability alums. And he said he'd love to hear from each of the panelists what, if anything, makes you optimistic about the future of your work and the sustainability movement. And I'll maybe ask you just to add on to that also, what is kind of one gift that you're going to be giving this holiday season? So why don't we start with you, Jason?
I'm optimistic. I have, as you know, Fiona, I have a daughter who's 22, had attended UNH, and I'm optimistic because, I see the choices that she and her friends are making in the world, and I'm thrilled where once a week or so she'll send me an article about, the young women and girls in Iran, for instance, who, by the way, were just recognized today on Time Magazine for their courage and their bravery. So, because I work more now at this point in my career, I spent a lot more time in the social sector, and I'm seeing, after the tragic events and, the spotlight on racial justice in 2020 with the tragic deaths of, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and Ahmaud Arbery. I'm a runner, and that one hit me really hard. I saw the way that that people, everybody kind of came together and sort of stood up to that. And there's been some setbacks since then, right, for sure. But to see that collective action, to see what happened in the United States recently, in the midterm elections, the record number of turnout, I think, that certainly gives me hope for sure. And in terms of what am I giving this year? So I am actually giving a customization of a Levi product to an existing Levi product. So to my sister, to my partner Jamie and her family, so they can bring in a jacket, a Levi's jacket, or a pair of jeans and get it customized, at our tailor shop. So that's what I'm giving.
Beautiful, love that. Thanks so much, Jason. Let's go to you, Betsy. Why are you optimistic, and what are you giving this season?
Two things that make me optimistic. One is that after many years of spending time lobbying in DC, we got climate legislation passed this year. So very thrilled about that. That's one thing that makes me optimistic. And two, spending time in supply chains where things are made, there are opportunities to cut carbon emissions associated with our products by more than 80%. Now, today, we can do that in our factories. And we have great brands that are willing to spend millions of dollars to help make that happen in factories they don't even own. So that also makes me optimistic. In terms of gift giving, you guys have totally caught me having not purchased my Christmas gifts yet. I was actually going to get some inspiration from this webinar, so I think I've got a few things to go off of now, but I kind of need to get my act together on that one.
Love it. Well, Betsy, you made the great suggestion earlier of give a bag of favorite clothes or toys to a younger set of cousins or friends, because things that come from, bigger kids, those younger kids just love getting those things from favorite cousins and other people, right? So
I need to go mine some closets. That's what I need to do for presents. Yeah.
Yeah. Matt.
Ah, lovely. Well, in a very microclimate kind of perspective, I'm optimistic for a lot of reasons, but just this week, something that it just really got me psyched. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to engage in another UNH webinar with about 25 students, and it was kind of a career path, really very much a conversation. How did, they're all students currently, so they're looking at this, big wide open world, and it can be certainly very daunting. And they're like, where do I go? Like, how do I take that next step? I'm going to move out of this, kind of condensed experiential life to date, and then move into this big global kind of scenario. And what really impressed me was that how many questions were built around either one, doing something that you're passionate about, like really finding your values and moving your professional life towards those values, which I think everyone can benefit from. And I was just so excited to see that they were thinking about it that way. And it wasn't, it was different than when I was there, where it was like, how are you going to make money? Like, how are you going to sustain yourself and have a monetized career? And this was very much I would say a service-based career, something that you could feel really good about at the end of the day. And and then there were questions about sustainability, questions about DEI initiatives, all of these different things that are really on the forefront of these students' minds. And if nothing else, that really gave me hope for both the near and far future, that this is how people are, this new wave, this next generation, this next set of workers is thinking about their careers. And I found it highly motivating. I finished that call feeling better than I had in quite a long time.
Love hearing that, Matt. I know we're really close on time, so I'm just going to pass it to Corley to share one last thought with us.
Yeah, I'll be super quick. Some of the things that have been said, but I'm just super inspired about young people that are turning out to vote in record numbers, especially yesterday in my home state of Georgia. That was really exciting to see. And also young people are the ones that are holding up the circular economy and wanting to buy used and making buying used cool, and asking these tough questions of brands. So that gives me a lot of hope for our future. And for my gift, I still do a UNH gift exchange with my best friends from UNH. So I'll go to Boston before I go to Georgia. And this year's theme is an accessory, and my accessory will actually be something from my closet that I know one of my friends covets. So that won't say what it is in case she watches this, but that'll be my gift. So
I love it. I love it. Well, it's been such a pleasure to have this conversation with all of you and spend a little bit more time in your company, hearing about the really important, exciting work that you're all doing. It's very clear to me after this, we've got some great comments and questions in the chat. I'm sorry we didn't get to all of them. We'll just have to do more of these webinars and bring more of our alumni together here at UNH around sustainability. It's clearly a topic that is of interest to a lot of people. And if you could just share the last couple of slides for me, I'll just close this out. But in addition to really thanking our speakers today, I noticed in the chat there was a great comment from one of our former students who was commenting on when he was a student here at UNH, he came to an event that was where Vincent Stanley, who's one of the early co-founders of Patagonia, was speaking, and he's commenting in the chat about just the impact that had on him as a student and his current career. And so I really want to encourage you all, these kinds of things, these webinars, coming to campus and speaking to classes, to bigger events. There's lots of ways for you as alums to get involved and to pay it forward. So we really hope that you'll consider doing some of these things. My colleague Alexis Dwyer is on the webinar today. She's our alumni and network stewardship coordinator, and please reach out to her if you'd like to be involved. You can host a UNH Summer Sustainability Fellow. We do that program every summer. You can attend some of the great events that we have, and you can find out about those events by signing up for our newsletter. We also have now a LinkedIn group for UNH Sustainability Alumni on LinkedIn. So I think it's now over almost 600 people. So please think about joining that LinkedIn group and sharing ideas and connections with other alums on that group. And just anything else, reach out to us. I'd love to have a conversation with you. Alexis would. We'd love to find ways to connect with our alumni.